Can we be friends? Can we be friends? Can we be friends? Can we be friends? Can we be friends?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Can We Be Frank, where the whiskey may be on ice, but the talk is always straight up. We're here in our remote studios for this episode.
But it is a little strange because we're so used to being in person.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But this will
talking
be
into the
interesting to
computers,
see.
very
Yeah.
different.
I mean, although everyone's used to Zooming and doing things over Zoom, but it is different. It is a different experience.
Yeah,
We can be frank just as easily over Zoom as we can in person.
No matter where we are.
We can certainly cheers.
Yes. Although, yeah, yours is showing up much better than mine, but
It is. Well, I have a window right in front of me, perhaps. Look at that.
It looks good. Yeah.
For those who can't see,
there we go.
My glass with the Can We Be Frank logo is showing. Look at that.
We got to get some merch.
Which, by the way, say Can We Be Frank the way you say it, Derek?
Can we be frank?
No.
Oh, welcome to Can We Be Frank?
You hit it different. Can we be frank? Like the way you do it is it's different than I said. Can we be frank? And you were like, "Welcome to." Do you know what I'm talking about?
Welcome to Can We Be Frank, where the whiskey.
That's it.
Yeah.
Isn't that different?
It's like I guess emphasis. I'm putting on my radio, my DJ voice.
Keep it on, my friend. I like it. Before we start, I'm just curious what everyone's, because usually we know we have one bottle that we share amongst us.
Oh, that's true.
What is the drink du jour?
What do we got? Elijah Craig.
Elijah Craig.
I.
What do you got?
Hand, have Hemingway Rye cask strength.
Oh,
special.
Oh,
it's like 134 proof or something. It's some insane. Wow. I didn't know you can have more than 100, but apparently you can.
That's some potent stuff.
Not
for you to brag, but I noticed the ryes tend to be more expensive than your regular bourbons.
Yes, and the Hemingway Rye cask strength is more expensive than the Hemingway Rye, which is a mid price, I guess you'd say. The Hemingway Rye, I think, is about $80 a bottle, which is not cheap, but it's not exorbitant. The cask strength was a little bit more than that. But anyways, okay, very good. Whose topic? Set it up. Sorry.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so we'll do our opening topic. I'll just go ahead and do it because I have it. It's kind of a throwback.
Before you do it.
Okay.
So we have the opening topic, right? The two of us don't know what it is, and one of us brings it to the table.
Yes.
And you have that.
Yes. Yeah. So I haven't shared this with either of you what I was going to talk about.
Okay, very good. But I also have a comment, and we can make it up front. I have a comment and a question.
Ooh.
After we've done a few of these now.
So needy.
This is a rare moment where I'm admitting that I was wrong. And it doesn't happen often that I admit it. But I don't know why I was. So I'm looking for some insight. We can do that now. We can do it after.
Yeah, let's do that first.
Okay. Now, just listen. Don't comment on my fallibility.
Hard for me to do.
I know. Okay. So as you know, when we decided to do this, I was very adamant about doing the video component of it. Like, I think you guys were like, hey, let's do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
An audio podcast, as 99% of the people do. And I was so adamant about, no, we got to do the video and we got to do it in a studio and it's got to be like top notch. And you guys were very gracious to indulge me. Here's the thing that I was surprised by. The majority of, I guess you'd say listeners, because they're not viewers, are listening to the podcast via Spotify and Apple Podcast. A handful people watching on YouTube. And I've noticed some people do what we do, right, which is both video and audio, but there's a lot like Conan, which I really like. Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. He does clips that he releases of video, but he does not release his full podcast on video. He does it on audio. So it's clearly, as I look into it, I was wrong that people prefer to digest podcasts auditorially and not visually. Now, I don't get it. And the reason why I was adamant about doing the video is like I grew up, I'm old enough to remember AM talk radio, like driving from LA to Vegas and having to listen to like Dr. David Viscott for 4 hours on AM radio. It's a radio play. Like, what is the appeal? That's my question. So I admit I'm wrong. I don't quite understand why.
I think people do it while they're they're doing other things. Even the people that watch on YouTube, I surmise most of them are actually just listening to it from their phone while they're doing it.
Other things.
I mean,
see. So it's not like a TV episode or movie where you sit down and it has your sole attention.
Right.
one would
You're
think,
doing something
yeah,
else.
I,
You're washing the
that
dishes. You're on the treadmill.
crocheting. I know one of our
Yes.
fans
Well,
sits
that's
there
my
and
choice. Oh,
crochets.
really?
Yeah,
Any chance they can crochet us a "Can we be frank"
I can give her the pattern.
coaster or something?
Yeah, coasters. She
Anyways,
does
okay, that's
coasters.
interesting. Does she? Okay.
Yeah,
But anyways, that's very interesting. Shout out to what's her name?
Jess. She
Jess.
did. She painted that
Oh,
thing, didn't she?
the Christmas is here
Didn't she
again.
do? Yeah, one of the things.
Was
On
that the one, Mike?
the window art, Casey Doyle
Oh,
did
yes.
Oh,
the
Casey
painting
did that
you
one.
did.
I thought Jess
Casey
did
did.
one too.
Okay, so
Or maybe that
Casey
was
did
Casey.
the one we hang in
Mhm.
the house, and Jess did the window
One of the windows.
art of
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Christmas is here again.
Yep. That was awesome.
They both were awesome. Okay, thank you for that insight because I was kind of scratching my head as to.
Yeah, or that or in cars, I would assume to.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
a lot of
true.
people listen
So
in cars.
it takes the place of AM radio.
I listened to a lot of podcasts when I was driving from Burbank to Culver City when I was working at Apple. So, but speaking of clips, I would always or often come in and watch the clips from the episode that I listened to because I wanted to see kind of the reaction. But I don't know that I would have sat and watched the whole podcast from beginning to end with video.
It's so interesting. I guess maybe I'm just old school. I so much prefer watching the podcast. I know it's just two people sitting typically if it's an interview style podcast, but there's something about that you can't get with audio, right? Just the reactions, the mugshot. I mean, especially someone like Conan, has so much of
Oh,
it
yeah.
is his,
He's
his
very
physicality
yeah.
Mhm.
and his, his mugs to the camera and things, and you don't get that. It's still very funny. I do listen to it because I can't watch it. But anyways, all right, very good. Sorry, did not mean to derail, but wanted to admit I was wrong and then needed an explanation. All right, Derek, what's our topic?
Oh, so it's a throwback to our first episode. The topic had you had brought up Nepo babies.
Yes.
And at the time, I could not think of a good example of a Nepo baby that was like truly bad. Like we were trying to rack our brains and be like, well, who's an example of someone that was bad? And recently, an example made itself known.
Boy.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
You're going to be frank at this point.
Oh, yes. And I don't want to hammer on it. It's kind of happened in the past. We'd be beating a dead horse now, but it was Northwest, Kanye's daughter, in the Lion King production at the Hollywood Bowl. Did you hear about that?
I did not hear about that. No.
So they do like a live performance of the Lion King. They play all the music and the music numbers, and she apparently was the selection to play Simba in the one song, and it wasn't very good, and people just railed on it.
So
And
she can't. She had to sing, and she.
Yeah, she just wasn't very good. It was a clear Nepo casting.
Yeah. And boy, it's harder to mask bad singing than it is bad acting, I think.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say it was like the first example that I could really think of. And there were professional people that reviewed the clip and were very honest that they were like, she should really, I don't know if she goes to school like normal people, but if she does, they think that she could continue to do like school productions and really hone her skill and could be really good eventually, but it just wasn't fair that she got that over some really talented actual performers. Like there's some really talented Broadway kids.
Of course. Now I'm going to make I'm just going to be the devil's advocate. Mike, feel free to be the angel's advocate. But I know nothing about this, so I don't know. So it was one song.
I think they brought in different people for the different songs. Yeah. So it was one song. I Just Want to Be King, if you're familiar with The Lion King.
Oh yeah,
I
sure.
just can't
Okay, so
wait
I
to be
wonder
king.
if yes, if it's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I don't know if this is the case, but if you're able to market as Kanye West's daughter, I don't know if that has any pull. I don't, but I don't know if that was part of the idea of casting her versus someone who might have had more talent and been lesser of a name. You know what I mean? Like, were there certain reasons they did it? Was he just calling it a favor?
Well, there was a lot of other big names singing the songs in there. Like they
Oh,
brought,
so that okay.
yeah, like they brought
Never
back
mind.
a lot of the doing the Timon and Pumbaa song. I'm pretty sure they brought in the actual people that did it in the
Oh,
movie.
Nathan. Is it
Yeah,
Nathan?
Nathan Lane, right? Yeah.
Um,
So there
how
was a
old was
big
she at
enough
the time?
pool. It was what's that?
Do you know? Do you know how old she was at the time?
Uh, I have it here. I think a 10-year-old.
Okay,
She's
so this
10.
is a problem I've got. The same problem I have when you watch like American Idol, and you have these contestants that clearly have zero talent, but they've had family tell them how amazing they are, that got them to the point where they're going to perform and be mocked, which is not right. And I think they do it less now than they did in the beginning. But I do think there's some responsibility, certainly. And I'm not saying anyone's blaming the 10-year-old, but you have your dad, Kanye, and your mom. Is the mom a Kardashian?
Yeah, Kim
Okay. Telling you
Kardashian.
how
Yeah.
amazing you are and you can get, you know what I mean? Like it's unfair to the kid because then it's a cruel world out there once you're outside of your bubble. I know. Trust
And a
me.
lot of the feedback did blame them for putting her in that position because there are internet trolls, but majority of them, um, I feel, felt bad about blaming a child. They they
Right.
put most of the blame on the parents. Like, why would you put them through this to have to read these reviews after the fact? You know,
Yeah, and you hope
because
to some
it was
degree.
a scathing review,
I
um,
bet.
and
It was bad.
yeah,
Was
and
it? So I was gonna say, weigh in, Mike.
It was
You heard
bad.
it. It was like off
Yeah.
key, or she just is bad.
I mean, it's a kid, and that's where I feel bad about being negative.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Well, it's like if she was, let's put it this way, if she was in like the local elementary school
yeah,
production, you'd be like, great, oh, amazing. I
yeah,
mean, it's just tough when you're talking the Hollywood Bowl and you're amongst all these other stars, that are
yeah.
Broadway quality.
hmm It's tough.
Yeah. Nepo baby crime.
yeah, it just didn't. And I don't know if it's true because you can't trust what you see on the internet, but there were auditions floating around that people apparently released of the other kids that didn't get it because of her, and like these kids could sing, like
Yes. Now, I would argue, though, you could do that probably for just about any role, any singing across the board. There's, I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there. I see it. I mean, we all see it when you scroll on TikTok. You're like, well, that singer is amazing versus, the current flavor of the day who can't carry it, is not as talented vocally,
yeah,
let's say. But there's so many other factors. I mean, I think it's a little hard to compare sometimes just pure talent on a pure talent level. There's better writers, directors, actors, singers, that you could pluck out of obscurity, certainly. But as we've discussed in past episodes, there's a million other factors: luck, timing,
sure,
connections.
yeah. Well, you'll have to if you Google it, it'll come up. You can watch it. And again, I
Okay.
not to rail on it, but the reason I even brought it up at all is because Mike and I saw Mrs. Doubtfire, the musical, at the
Mm.
Pantages yesterday, and the three kids in that were just phenomenal. They were really, really good. So it kind of made me think about that.
Yeah. Was one of
Just
them
like
Jaden Smith or
no,
no? No,
no,
no nepo babies.
no nepo babies in this one. They're relatively unknown.
Yeah, never
People.
heard of them, but they were all great.
Uh, Oh, it was
They're all
good,
stage people, yeah.
entertaining.
Oh, it was so good.
But
Now,
you
I would think
really,
the tough role is the Robin Williams character.
and he put his own spin on it. I think they wrote it in a way that made it doable for another person to fill that role, because otherwise you couldn't do it. It Robin really owned that. Um, so they made book changes to the I think that's, I'm trying to use my Broadway terms, the book or whatever they call the
Right.
script,
Yeah.
to help feed towards that and make it someone else's role. Um, and he was really good. But to be fair, Mike, I if you didn't see the actual movie, I
Oh
would have
yeah.
been lost in that play. It's all
Oh,
about the nostalgia with it, because to fit the songs in, they really had to truncate the plot and to move it along. Um, but
I want to know when they're going to be doing the Halloween the musical
yeah,
One of these days.
one of these days.
are there any horror musicals or
Well, Sweeney Todd. I mean, you count Sweeney Todd as a
Yeah, and I guess
horror?
like Rocky Horror Picture Show, but that's not really
Yeah.
horror. I mean,
What was
mm,
the one with the plant that eats people? The eating plant one. Seymour. What's that one? What I'm talking about. The giant plant that eats people. Come on.
oh, I don't know that I know that
I don't
one.
know.
What? Little Shop of Horrors. Come on.
Oh,
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
All right. Very good. Good opening topic.
and so that leads me to what I'm going to be our main topic. It's relatable because you were a sitcom writer in the '90s, so I want to talk about our favorite '90s movies and TV.
Ah,
So, it's speaking of Mrs. Doubtfire, I scoured the internet looking for top movies of the '90s, hoping and thinking I would find Mrs. Doubtfire there, and
and you did.
surprisingly, it's hit or miss,
Ah,
Oh,
that's
um,
it's
devastating.
not.
as to whether it makes the list or not. Um,
I
so
mean,
there
that
was,
was a great one.
yeah.
There were so many in the 90s. The 80s was my favorite
So
decade, but
that's your decade for movies.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
90s. I mean, I'm trying to think. Groundhog's Day, right? Was
mhm.
90s.
So
Truman Show. Truman Show. That was
okay.
a great one.
So what would be
That's
your top 5 movies from the
oh, geez.
'90s?
Mike, you
Ugh.
go first. A
Hmm.
top five?
Yeah, give me a
Oh,
top 5,
oh,
and
can I?
then we'll compare
I'll
it to
give you
see if
time to think.
Yeah, I
we'll
need time to
compare it
think.
to
But
the actual
but I've
list.
got one. I've got two right off the bat. Only because I was so impressed. I remember this very clearly. I think it was 93, I think. Listen, I was already a Steven Spielberg fan, but like that summer, I think Jurassic Park, the first one came out,
Mm.
and it just you're blown away, right, by the spectacle of that movie at the time. You got to put yourself back in 1993. You'd never seen anything like it. It was insane, just seeing these dinosaurs come to life. And then maybe 6 months later, so that was in the summer. I think in the winter, Schindler's List comes out. This complete polar opposite type of film, but equally as amazing and grand and well directed and thoughtful and performance. I mean, everything that was amazing about Jurassic Park for that genre, Schindler's List was for that genre, and it was Steven Spielberg. And I remember thinking at that moment, okay, there's no better. Like for him to be able to master those two genres in the span of 6 months. I mean, that's someone who just say what you will about him. I know there's a lot of Spielberg haters out there, but you cannot argue that he does not know his craft. So
Spielberg.
yeah, Spielberg. Yes, that was
Yeah.
two of my favorites. I think
And
of the
actually,
90s.
I have a fun fact. I don't know if you knew. I think I heard this on a podcast or something.
Okay.
Spielberg wanted to make Schindler's List, and he was still finishing Jurassic Park, though. He was in post production. So he got a famous director friend of his to come in and help finish post on Jurassic Park. Do you know who it was, or want to make a guess?
I'm gonna guess because he has this close circle of friends. It's either George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, Robert Zemeckis.
You
That's
got it
it.
on the first one. It was George Lucas.
Okay.
So he needed to move on because they needed to film in the winter for Schindler's List. I think didn't a lot of it take
Yes.
place in the
Yeah,
winter?
it did.
So he needed to go. He could not finish, so he had George Lucas come in and help finish directing post production.
And by the way, I can't tip my hat to him and his amazing ability to go between those two genres and have equally amazing films, and not also give this equal shout out to John Williams to do an amazing score for Jurassic Park, and then the most moving. I cannot to this day listen to that Schindler's List theme and not get choked up. Anyways, those are two of my favorites off the top of the dome, as
Schindler's
the
List.
kids
So
say.
you did not make out in the movie theater with Pam to Schindler's List like Jerry Seinfeld.
No,
If you've seen that, if you're a Seinfeld fan,
no,
there's a whole
no.
Seinfeld episode where
That's
Jerry
hilarious. I
gets
have not
caught.
seen that.
Jerry gets
During
caught
Schindler's
making
List.
out in Schindler's List because his parents are in
No.
town, so he can't go anywhere with his girlfriend. So they go to the movies, and the only place they can get frisky, and
Well,
one of Elaine's friends or somebody catches him in the movie, making out in the middle of Schindler's List.
that's very funny. So, Mike, I've given you two. I'll keep thinking, but
Gosh, I gotta go. Like we're talking about The Lion King. I think The Lion King was a '90s movie, and I enjoyed the original animation of that. That was a good movie that I remember growing up and watching. And
well, I was going to say you both were young in the
really,
90s,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
we
Like
would have
early
been
90s, you were what?
6 to 16,
Oh, jeez.
right?
yeah.
15 or 16, yeah. At the end of the 90s, 5, obviously. For me, it was 5 in 1990.
5.
Yeah, 5 to 15.
I've been
10 years.
married a year.
Wasn't Toy Story also a '90s movie? Again, growing up.
Yep. Toy
with
Story.
It was Toy Story.
Yep.
Was,
Story was
that was great.
It was such a
That
good
was
movie.
again one of those groundbreaking films. Yeah,
That
no, that's a great one.
tended to make the list. Toy Story, Schindler's List made the list. Jurassic Park made most of the lists. It's funny
Okay,
because I
Jurassic
looked
Park.
I looked in Forbes, Rolling Stone, and CNN. I did just comedies, I think.
Yeah. What about? Were there any? Oh, Misery. I think. Was
Ooh,
the 90s.
Misery. Yes.
Oh, that one didn't appear on any of the lists. I didn't.
Was that
see.
the late '80s
Six-
though, or was it the '90s?
Let me look. 1990. Just made the cut.
Just made it.
Sixth
That was
Sense.
a good one.
I know. I thought Sixth Sense was good.
Sixth
Yep,
Sense.
that was another one.
Oh, it looks like the original Scream came out in the '90s.
It did.
That's a good one.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Wes Craven. That was kind of the first of its kind.
It was. I think we're leaving one out, Mike.
Halloween H2O.
Halloween H2O.
Of course.
Of course.
It must be on every list.
1998.
Yeah, it was the top of every list.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. So my favorite movie, obviously Forrest Gump.
Oh, that was
Forrest Gump.
You love Forrest Gump. Yeah.
I'll say Halloween H2O. Toy Story, Lion King were very good. I mean, Aladdin. There was a lot of really great Disney animation. That's our childhood there.
Yeah, was Beauty and the Beast? I thought that was really good.
Yep.
Was that 90s?
Yep, that was in the 90s too. A lot of great stuff there. But like for me, my first movie in a movie theater was Apollo 13. That was also in the mid 90s.
Oh wow.
Another Tom Hanks. So that's like my first memory of seeing a movie in the theaters.
Jerry Maguire.
Oh, Jerry Maguire was a great one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Another there was a documentary or movie called Hoop Dreams. Either of you ever heard of that?
No.
That made multiple lists.
I did not see it, but I have heard of it.
Yeah. That one I wasn't really familiar with.
7.
Oh, it's another good one.
I'm looking at the list now. I'm cheating now.
Okay.
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day made it.
Was Forrest Gump in the 90s, or was that the early 2000s?
Yeah,
It
Forrest Gump was the
was.
90s. Yeah.
Okay, that was a good
Forrest
one.
Gump, Truman Show. Okay.
Oh, Good Will
Yeah.
I've done
Hunting.
some
So,
I
good
see
ones.
Good Will Hunting.
Oh,
Goodwill
yes, Good Will
Hunting.
Hunting.
So the Forbes list, I don't know if they did it in order or not, but their list was Shawshank Redemption, Schindler's List, Thelma and
Shawshank.
Louise, Toy
No,
Story. There's Something About Mary.
no. Top 10?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it made their top
I mean,
50s. Malcolm X, Goodwill Hunting, Titanic,
oh, right,
uh,
Titanic,
that
sure.
Hoop Dreams, Goodfellas, Scream, The Fugitive with Dave Roebuck, um,
Oh, our good friend.
Set It
That was the
Off.
90s.
I'm not sure what
One?
Set It Off
I think
is
Set It Off and Something About Mary are typos.
out of there. Jerry Maguire and How Stella Got Her Groove Back. That was
Sure,
another one.
of course.
Not on the list, but on Rolling Stone's list was Pulp Fiction,
Oh, sure.
Silence of the Lambs, The
Mm.
Piano, and Groundhog Day. So good.
Now, did you say we're also talking TV? 90s TV?
Yes. So I was doing TV and movies from the 90s. I specifically also looked for comedies to try and find Mrs. Doubtfire on a list because I thought it had to be there. It did make Cracked websites top comedy movies of the 90s.
Well, say no
It
more.
was in their top 100. It was like 85, but I don't know if they were in order or not, or if they were just picking 100 great comedies of the 90s. But it did make it. CNN best comedies. Mrs. Doubtfire was fourth, behind Home Alone, Sister Act, My Cousin Vinny, and My Cousin Vinny. It was Mrs. Doubtfire was fourth. Dumb and Dumber,
Another
The
Fairley
Big
Brothers.
Lebowski, Rush Hour. So there's a lot of really good movies
Oh, Rush Hour. There was. You know,
in the
I mean, I know
90s.
this is what everybody argues the older you get, but they ain't
So,
making them like
so
they
for
used to.
you, the
These are
80s
No.
were
awards.
where
They
you
certainly
like
don't.
The
your
80s and the
pivotal.
90s were peak. I
Such
mean, they're
good
releasing
stuff.
films from the right, like they're releasing things from the 80s and 90s, re-releasing them in the theaters, and they're
Mhm.
doing better than the films that are current because they knew how to tell stories. It
Yeah.
wasn't all just about blowing shit up.
Yeah, it's so different now. And speaking of storytelling, that's so interesting, right? Because the movies today just don't tell the stories that we grew up with. Like there was substance to a film, not this, like you said, Robert, just blowing things up, or the horror movies back then where you were able to actually be scared. It wasn't just blood and guts flying everywhere and
Except
Yes,
maybe
exactly
Hellraiser,
that.
but
like right, yeah.
Yes, like Terrifier, the Terrifier
Oh
movies,
god,
but
yeah.
of today. But literally, it feels to me like these films are being made with an extensive checklist by the side,
Mm.
and they've got to check every single box. So every film has these boxes they got to check. Um, and the story is like not even considered. It feels like it's just all these other elements. It's like an IKEA. It's like a piece of IKEA furniture, and you've emptied all the things. You got to make sure you use every part. And so you get these films that are like, okay, we got to make sure that what I'm saying. Just every box is checked, and I'm afraid that they're doing that at the expense of storytelling, rather than just telling the best story, and then whatever elements off that list you use, great. Some you're going to use more elements off that checklist than others. Some you may only use one. Some you might use every element off that checklist. But I think they get into trouble because they're trying to check every box.
well, what about the weird movies like your favorite movie, Poor Things? Well, I guess they were checking the box in that one too. That
They were
same
checking
guy,
boxes.
That same guy has a new one coming out that looks just right up your alley as well.
Oh boy.
Also
Can't
with
wait.
Emma Stone, called Kinds of Kindness. Has Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe in it as well. It looks just as fun as Poor Things. So
I'm gonna have
another
to
great
check
one
it
for
out.
your streaming list.
Yes, I'll make sure
I
and add it.
bet you can't wait to see that one.
Count down the days. But I
So
have a similar complaint once we get to TV. I mean, it's a little bit different as far as checking the boxes, but it's a similar complaint. But we'll get there.
yeah, well, so I wanted to. So with the movies, the lists were all over the place. Like there were so many different. Everybody had a different opinion of movies. Like everybody's top 10 list was completely different. For television, when I went digging, they were very consistent with what people thought were the favorite movies, or excuse me,
Oh,
favorite
TV
favorite
shows?
TV shows of the 90s.
Can we guess?
Yeah, let's guess what the top ones were.
Okay,
So
Mike, you go first. So see how many we can get. between me and Mike.
Gosh, I don't know. You go first.
Okay, Frasier.
that was within the top 50. So TV Guide
Okay,
did
doesn't
50
count.
best
No,
50
top
best
10 or
shows.
bust, Derek. So that's one strike for me. We get 3
Yeah.
strikes.
Yeah, so let's try and do the top 10. Again, it's TV Guide if that helps influence your
Seinfeld.
yes.
Well, we got
Seinfeld
it. Yeah,
number 3.
Seinfeld's
Okay.
got to be on there.
Okay,
Seinfeld number 3.
That was number 3.
Yep.
Okay,
Oh, we got to say Home Improvement. Come on.
it's not on there.
No?
I agree, but it's not on there.
Home Improvement was 36.
Okay.
Well, okay, but that's a strike for you, pal. But I'm glad you just said it because I was going to say it, but I didn't want the strike. Never won an Emmy for writing it. I don't know about the show itself, but anyways,
There was another. Oh no, it's just outside of it as well. In 11th, another familiar
Buddies?
show. No,
Thunder
another
Alley?
one
No.
with strong that your dad had strong
Roseanne.
ties to.
Boy Meets World.
Yeah, Boy Meets World was 11.
Oh, okay.
Funnily enough, Roseanne, if it was on there, it's not one of the ones I highlighted. That's funny. I can't believe Roseanne wouldn't have been on there.
Yeah, I mean, because it appeals to the flyover states, as they say. Everybody Loves Raymond.
Ooh.
That was on the list, but not top 10. Not even top
I'm
20.
striking out.
Hmm.
How are we missing? I mean, there's 9.
What other shows are there?
Wait, hold on.
90s.
90s.
Gosh, what else?
I mean, we know it wasn't any TGIF shows. It has to be Moonlighting.
I think that was the 80s. It may have gone into the 90s, but I didn't
Okay.
see Moonlighting on there.
What about King of Queens?
West. Go on.
Sorry, King of Queens.
King of Queens.
Not in the top 10.
Okay.
Are these only sitcoms, Derek, or can I do 1 hour?
It says best shows of the 90s.
Oh, period.
West
Okay.
Wing. West Wing.
I think it was on the list, but not top 10.
Okay.
Although to
Wow.
be fair, that was September of 99 that came out. So people
Okay.
may more associate that with the early 2000s rather than the 90s. So that one would
Did I
just
say-
barely qualify.
Did I say ER?
ER was 28.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, 28. My
Gosh.
goodness. What are we waiting for?
Mike, we've gotten 1 out of 10. People who are listening are screaming at their
I'm sure they
iPhones,
are.
whatever they listen to.
Gosh.
I was going to say screaming at the screen, but they don't watch.
A lot of them I get, but I don't. Did we miss the big one that we obviously should have?
Friends? Friends?
Friends.
Okay.
Oh,
there we
Friends
go.
is number 1.
Yeah, that's what people were
Of
screaming
course.
at. I was like, yes, okay.
Of course.
Mike,
Man.
you should get number 8.
Come on, Mike.
The Gold Girls? Like,
Oh,
Oh,
no,
the Gold
that was
Girls.
probably
well, they
more
were
associated-
they were in the late 80s though.
late 80s, more associated with the 80s.
Alf?
Okay.
Alf?
No, not Alf.
That was 80s. But in my defense, I was working like 23 hours a day in the 90s. So
So you
I
didn't
wasn't
watch
watching
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
TV?
TV.
Mike, you have to get.
Uh,
It's another one. It's the one you're missing. The hell do you know about Korea?
oh, the Wonder Years.
Yeah, I guess it probably was late 80s, but enough of it was in the 90s that people.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Recognize
I've
It's a great
struck
show.
out, so
Number 2,
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks,
oh,
really?
I never saw it, never
And
watched it.
and
Never.
I felt a little off on that one, but then I looked it up. It made multiple lists that I saw. It was when I was researching this. Twin Peaks was often up very close to the top on all the lists. People for
Wow.
some reason loved Twin Peaks.
So what was number
Um,
one?
Friends,
Or
Friends
you
was
can go.
number 1.
Oh, Friends was one. Okay.
Twin
What
Peaks
else? What
number
did we
2,
miss?
Seinfeld number 3.
Hmm.
My So-Called Life was 4.
Oh yeah, sure, I remember that. Hmm.
Um,
4.
yeah,
I
5.
mean, I'm not going by ratings, which is interesting. Okay, go
No,
on.
this isn't ratings. This is somebody's opinion. It is a person that wrote an
Well, I
article
mean, it
for
was same with
TV
Home
Guide.
Improvement, which was number one for many seasons, and again, like I said, didn't win many awards. Popular amongst the viewers, which you think would account for something. Always
Yeah.
won People's Choice Awards and such. But
So popular there. 5.
Mhm.
This is a story all about how
Oh, Fresh
life
Prince.
Fresh Prince.
Oh, I was going to say the Brady Bunch. There's
No,
a
that's the
story,
of a lovely lady. No, not
lady.
quite. 6. Another hour long, not comedy. Very popular. Probably one of the early.
Hmm.
Well,
Law and
maybe not.
Order.
Law and Order was 29.
Ally McBeal.
That was on the list, but not top 20.
The Practice.
No.
Damn it.
The X-Files.
Oh, sure. Oh, of course.
Very
Great.
popular.
Yeah.
7 seems very interesting to me. Freaks and Geeks.
Oh,
Oh,
that was
so
that was
good.
fun. It only
That was
lasted
one
10,
season,
2 seasons.
right? Yeah.
One season.
Very end,
Wow.
it just made the list, but I guess it was so cult popular, like a cult
Yeah, that was a very
classic.
good show.
And how
But
many
that's why-
episodes was that? I don't think it was like 24 or whatever. That
No, it was like
usually-
10 or 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay,
was
now we're going to
short.
get into my gripe.
Um,
Let's finish the list.
So 9, Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
Okay, this list just lost.
That was terrible. That was a terrible
It
show.
just
But
lost.
something that I watched.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you put Saved by the Bell on there and you don't put Home Improvement,
Yeah.
but Saved by the Bell, if I remember, am I wrong? Was not even prime time. It was like Saturday morning. No.
Yeah, I believe so. Again, this is somebody's, but you would think if they write for TV Guide, it'd be an impressive one. 10 was The Simpsons,
Of course.
which depend who you would ask, that would bump up right behind. Like Friends is
Some people, yeah.
like Friends, Seinfeld. You can't even X-Files. I that would be on almost everybody's list. Some of these other ones, it's just this person has an interesting opinion. Full House was 14.
Oh, I was going to say, now see, where was Home Improvement?
36.
Mm.
Another one of your dad's shows, though, beat it by 5. It would have been a single camera, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Dinosaurs?
Yeah, Dinosaurs was 31. I love Not the Mama. I love that show. This is a weird list. 26th was The Magic School Bus. So, like,
PBS show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go through 12 through 20 because it's fun. 12 was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh God. Okay.
13 In Living Color. 14
Ah,
Full
okay.
House. Oh, this is a big one that we missed. I never really watched it, but it made a lot of sense. 15 Murphy Brown.
Oh, Murphy
Oh, sure.
Brown.
That was big.
That was a
yeah.
big one. 16 Mr. Show with Bob and David. Bob Odenkirk and David
Odenkirk?
Cross.
Oh,
Never
okay.
watched
Never
it.
watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. 17 Freaked Me Out. Still won't watch it to this day. Unsolved Mysteries.
Ooh. Robert Stack emerging from the fog machine.
Yes,
in
from the
his winter
fog.
coat.
Yes, very dramatic.
Oh man, yeah, that was a nightmare
Yeah,
show.
I will not watch that show to this day. I freaked me
Anything
out.
that's not solved, yeah,
Yeah.
because they're out there.
They are
18
looking.
Kids in the Hall.
Never watched.
Sketch show.
Isn't that Canadian?
It is. We can let our
No,
Canadian
sorry,
brethren.
no, America.
19. I don't know who put this list together. The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Oh God.
I'm not sure about that. I don't
Yeah.
know what that
And
is.
20. Al Bundy, Married with Children,
Oh, sure. Yeah,
which
that
made
was-
sense.
That was big.
Yeah, those were the big ones. Again, this was just somebody's opinion. Um, I didn't. I should have looked it up by ratings. Maybe I'll do it here in a second. I did though have a one we could actually guess going back to movies. Guessing top grossing. Like this isn't someone's opinion. This is a statistic.
Well,
What we think
Titanic,
the top 5 highest grossing 90s movies were. Titanic is number 1.
Star Wars Episode 1,
Third, two you mentioned earlier. That number
Jurassic
2,
Park.
Jurassic Park. There's 2 Jurassic Parks on there. Also number 8,
Okay.
The Lost World,
Yes.
Jurassic Park.
And so we've gotten 3 of the 5.
Yeah, Titanic, Jurassic Park, Star Wars. There's and 4 and 5 for if we're doing top 5. One we mentioned earlier, the other one
Forrest
we haven't
Gump.
talked about.
Forrest
Forrest Gump was 6th.
Hmm.
You have to think blockbuster for number 5, and
I
number
know.
4 is an animation.
Oh,
Oh,
We
Lion
talked
King?
about it. The Lion King was 4.
Lion King.
And
5 is
and
like the quintessential blockbuster.
Armageddon.
That's 10.
Okay. Or Blockbuster. 90s. Oh, Independence Day.
There you go. Independence Day.
There we go.
Will Smith.
7th,
Okay, now
7th was Sixth Sense. I'll just round it out. 9 was Men in
okay.
Black. 10 Armageddon. So
Interesting. Will Smith made it into 2 there.
Yeah, you're right.
So what was your gripe about TV?
This is my gripe. This is my gripe. For all you little TV writers out there. I didn't make a lot of enemies. In my day, listen, seasons were in sitcoms, right? So let's just take Home Improvement. 25 episode seasons, 25 half hours. You did every season. On ours, we happen to be watching a show I grew up on, and I really, it's fun going back. But this show called Knots Landing, which was a spinoff of another show called Dallas.
Okay.
1 hour drama, 28 episodes.
Wow.
28 1-hour episodes a year for 14 years.
That is a
Okay, they managed.
catalog of
Nowadays they do 8, 6, 10, and they're sweating and they crawl into the bed for 8 months to hibernate before their brilliant minds can come up with another 8 episodes because our stories are so unique, and it drives me freaking mad. So you're waiting a year and a half in between seasons. By that time, I don't know what the hell happened in season 1 or 2. I've got to watch some YouTube refresher about it. And then I binge in, half a day, the season, and I'm on the hook another year and a half. It drives me mad. I don't understand it. Now, you can argue finances, whatever. You can argue, oh, well, we do these amazing effects or whatever. But it really, name me a show that does, maybe there are, and I'm just not aware of it. It's particularly one
now. I don't know. I mean,
it does 28 episodes, 25. I'll take 20.
West Wing was 22. I just got done.
Well, sure, that
rewatching
was
the West
90s
Wing.
though.
Yeah,
That's the 90s. I'm talking like current.
Oh yeah,
dramas.
no. I just back in the 22 for an hour long was good. Almost all those were probably in the low 20s, right? Up until what, maybe 5 years ago? Is that when this crap started?
I actually don't know, Derek. But then you have the writers, whining and complaining at the guild because they want them to staff 12 writers. Well, if you're doing a show with 5 episodes,
right.
8 episodes, you don't need 12. Do the math. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'm sure everyone's going to point the finger where the blame lies. It's the studios that aren't ordering the big orders, or it's the whatever the reason. Something's changed, and it just
well, it has to be streaming.
As a
Why,
consumer,
yeah,
it irks me because I long for the days when they were 28 1-hour episodes. It really is phenomenal when you think about the work that went into doing these shows. I mean, I was in the half-hour world, so I was, obviously intimately aware of what went into that, and it's an incredible undertaking to do every week a new show. When I was on the very first job I had in the industry, I think we talked about, was Carol and Company. It was a Carol Burnett show, and that first season of Carol and Company, each half hour was an entirely new cast, except for Carol Burnett. And so you had all these guest stars. It was a new set. It was a new premise. It was literally doing a one act play every week for 20 some odd episodes. Now you're talking costumes, wardrobe, casting, props, the writing. You're writing a one act play a week. But anyways, that's my gripe.
Yeah, I agree. I don't understand. Did you have mid-season breaks back in the 90s? Like on those shows? Because like now, I swear to God, we'll show you the 5 episodes, and then the second half of our 10, the last 5 is like 4 months later. So you have to wait 4 months to do that.
No, I know that's annoying. I mean, maybe there's a couple weeks of reruns. There was a couple weeks. And the way we would do it, at least on Home Improvement and the other sitcoms I was on, you would film. No, this is 30 years ago, but I believe it was you would film 2 episodes back to back. You'd have a week off. Now, the week off was really for everybody but the writers. Right? That gave the writers time to do. And then we do a 3, I believe, 3 in a row, then a week off, then 2 in a row, and a week off, then 3 in a row. You just rotated that. Around the holidays, obviously, you had maybe 2 weeks or so, but it was nonstop for 9 months, like a school year. And you do the 28 or 25 episodes, and then you'd have hiatus for 2-3 months, and then you'd do it all over again.
What was the window where you were unsure if you'd get picked up, or did you always know at the end if you were getting picked up?
Well, no, there was a window. Obviously, on Home Improvement, it was such a big hit out of the gate. You knew early on. On Thunder Alley, on other shows I did, I think you were waiting to hear maybe a couple weeks after you finished, because the show was still airing.
I mean, what's a big show? Did you ever watch a show that ended so abruptly they didn't get to properly end it? Like, Firefly comes to mind. I didn't really watch it, but it's really loved, but it just didn't come back.
I've never watched a show where that happened, but you're right, that has happened.
Well, it might happen with Yellowstone now, because Kevin Costner just said he's can't do it or can't come to an agreement with them. So, I don't. They'll keep going. I just don't know what they're going to do about his character.
He was in a horrible plane crash. It's one of those exposition lines.
Yeah.
Well, talking about, and I have to be careful because I know what happens on Knots Landing. Pam does not. But one of the characters, I won't even name it. I don't, spoilers from 1981. For those of you who haven't seen it. There's a character who I just loved, and I was a kid. I was probably 12, but just loved this character. And now that I've read into what happened, yeah, exactly that, Derek. He wanted more money, couldn't come to agreement, but he agreed to come back and do. He ends up dying in the show, but which is completely unexpected. It'd be literally like, I don't know. It'd be like Kevin Costner, like no one knowing. And you're just watching your show, enjoying your Kevin Costner on a horse, and then he just has a heart attack on a horse, and that's it. You're like, wait, what? It was shocking.
But then you got people like John Spencer on The West Wing who actually died, and they needed to get rid of his character. And so sad. Like, he was such a great,
so sad,
great
actor. Yeah, he died of a heart attack like days after his character had a heart attack on the show. It was like,
is that true?
Well, not quite, but his character, but I mean, his character had heart problems, the character itself, and then I'm pretty sure John Spencer died of a heart attack. So they had to write him off. He filmed.
Pretty easy to do at that point, right?
Yeah. So it made sense for the plot.
But geez,
yeah, that was
life imitating art.
Yeah. He was so good. He was so good. That's a shame.
But then there was a character.
I've never seen the show.
You've never seen The West Wing? It's a great show. The writing, Aaron Sorkin.
No, I've heard.
It really is a good show.
Amazing things.
Yeah, it really is a good show.
There was a character. There's a character in the first season that just disappears after the end of season 1. They don't explain where she went. She wasn't a main. It wasn't like Martin Sheen stopped, the Kevin Costner analogy. So it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't working out, and no one addressed it at all. She just stopped showing up, and no one questioned anything. So they managed to get away with that. That happens a couple times in just shows that I saw where the character just forget to mention it and hope people forget about him. I guess that's a strategy.
Well, to one up that on, Thunder Alley, on Home Improvement, they recast Jill
Mm.
after, but it was before they shot the pilot. So it was
Oh,
like during rehearsals up to shooting the pilot, and the original wife of Tim's was Frances Fisher,
mm,
who went on to win an Oscar, by the way. But she was dating Clint Eastwood at the time, and she, of course, is an amazing actress. But they did a dress rehearsal before filming the pilot, and you know how, I mean, you know the relationship between Jill, Patricia Richardson, and Tim.
Mhm.
Uh, if not played a certain way, it can come off very uncomfortably. You know what I mean? Like Jill has to be playful in her delivery. And so, anyways, I think Frances Fisher is more of a dramatic actress
Mhm.
than a comedic one. And so, in the scenes where they would fight that were supposed to be funny, you could hear a pin drop in the audience.
Ooh. Mm.
It
mm.
was so uncomfortable. Like they felt bad for Tim, which is, of course, the wrong thing. So they decided to recast, and there was an argument over who was going to tell Clint Eastwood that his friend was being replaced. But and then on Thunder Alley, which was a show I did after that with Ed Asner, was the star of that. That show, we actually did one season with the mom. So it's Ed Asner, his daughter, and her kids move in. Which, by the way, is the premise of the new Tim Allen show that's being shot. It's like the exact It's the exact premise.
Well, that's because they're not buying new ideas; they're buying reboots and
But I don't know
remakes.
how you do that and not acknowledge. Anyways, but it's not for me to bring up. But the people who created Thunder Alley, I have an issue. But anyways, my point was they had a mom, Diane Venora, one whole season at Asner's daughter, and they recast her in between season 1 and season 2. So season 2 starts up, and you've got Robin Riker as the mom. No acknowledgement, of course. Like, I guess it's like a soap opera. They do that, I guess, a lot in soap operas. They just rotate people out in the roles, but it always seems so strange. I'm like, I don't know of any other show that's done that, frankly.
Bewitched.
Fresh Prince.
Bewitched was a big
Yeah,
one, right?
there's been a
Like
couple.
Dick York.
Really?
Dick York switched out for Dick Sargent.
Fresh
Oh my
Prince
gosh,
replaced
yes.
the mom,
That's right. They did.
and
Oh, they
they
did.
They made an inside joke. They got DJ Jazzy Jeff to make a comment on one of the first with the new actress. Oh, did you do something different with your hair, or some comment like
Oh
that
my gosh. See, that would have been fun.
to
Yeah.
make like an acknowledgement, and that's how they got away with that. And they did it in Family Matters. They recast the mom as well. Usually the
Oh wow.
female
So it
in
is a normal
seems like it's easier for them to do it with females rather than
misogynist.
males.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I guess
Dick York.
so.
Dick York. Dick Sargent.
Okay, fair enough there. But I can't think of another male replacement like that. Like I should replace Kevin Costner. I don't know how you do that, but
Yeah, I don't think you do. It'd be like replacing Larry Hagman.
Yeah.
You guys weren't even born. Jeez.
Yeah, come on.
my
I dream
grandpa
of Jeannie.
loved Dallas. My grandpa loved
I Dream of
Dallas.
Jeannie.
I dream
Dallas
of
was so
Jeannie
good.
too. Yeah.
Which, by the way, we were just talking about this because JR makes a guest appearance on Knots Landing early on, because he's Gary Ewing's brother. Anyways, he is so good because even now it dawns on me. Oh wait, that's the same. Larry Hagman's the same guy as in I Dream of Jeannie. Like
Yeah.
he's so good at. There's such distinct,
Very different.
different characters
Mhm.
that they seem like different human beings.
Yep.
Whereas, I love Kevin Costner, but Kevin Costner to me is Kevin Costner. Right? Like, he's riding a horse, whether it's in that movie, this movie,
Whatever he
he's
does.
Kevin Costner. But Larry Hagman, certain actors kind of think like De Niro. Like De Niro's De Niro. It doesn't matter what he's in,
Yep.
or if he's just him being him, he's the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Larry Hagman's speaking of I Dream of Jeannie, it's funny because Barbara Eden, who's like 91, 92, still
Oh
looks
wow.
fantastic, doing the convention circuit, meeting people all the time, and it's just great. Like, it's great to see that she's still out there. I think she might be one of the only surviving cast members because Bill Daly's dead and Larry Hagman's dead now, and
Yeah,
yeah, she was good.
she was so good. Well, I guess we're coming up on
On time
an
Yeah, here
there.
we
hour.
go.
Look at that. Bring in the plane,
We did it.
Derek. Bring it in. Make
um,
sure none of the doors blow off. Or
yeah. Um, yeah. Well, I want to do it though. I want to end on
oh
since
right, yes.
well first one thing I just wanted to to end on was just for us to pick um our favorite movie and TV that we talked about from the
Oh,
Oh
90s.
jeez.
So what is our favorite, each of us to go through what's our favorite show and what's our favorite movie from the 90s? I'm going to go obviously for me is
Yeah, yeah. Buy us
For,
time, Derek.
Forrest Gump for movies. All well, yeah. I was gonna say, man, I could sit there and almost all of Tom Hanks movies I love, but Forrest Gump and TV show. Um, God, I, I would get. I guess I'd have to say Seinfeld. It was
ugh,
formative for me.
no.
It's see, here's the thing. I can't watch it now. Like the reruns, I tried to
Oh
rewatch it.
really? It doesn't
Like
hold up?
just not for me. It's like it was formative at that time for me. It was funny, but I just tried to go back and watch the episodes, and it's too much about nothing. I love Larry David, Curb Your
Isn't that?
Enthusiasm,
Curb Your
Yeah.
Enthusiasm is so good, but I can't watch Seinfeld.
but
Oh, that's
Seinfeld's one of those
interesting.
shows where if I'm going to go back and watch it, I'm only going to watch the highlights, the best episodes, the Soup Nazi, um, the Bet, the low or the close talker, all the key, episodes. The other ones I was just like, this wasn't funny at all. Like it was so hit or miss. There's so many great episodes, but there's so many duds too. So for me,
So
that's
Forrest Gump, Seinfeld,
yeah, has to
Hmm.
be.
Mike.
Oh God. I'm trying to think of like what I grew up on. Like I know we didn't talk about it, but Liar Liar is a '90s movie, and I remember
Oh,
watching that
so
distinctly
funny.
over and over and over again with Nick Rose, my best friend, and quoting that movie. So I remember that. I think maybe that what stands out as one of my top movies of the '90s. And TV, really, honestly, I know you're here, you wrote it for it, but Home Improvement is something I remember watching with my family, my grandfather, and sitting there every new episode that came out, we watch, and it was great.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say movie. There were so many good ones like we discussed, but for me, I'm just gonna go with Schindler's List because
Yeah, it's a
I
good one.
was just so. It's so not a film I normally would uh, take to or go see.
Mm.
You know, what I mean, it just I'm not a big like 3 hour drama guy, black and white. History, like none of like everything across the board is nothing. None of that interests me. Uh, but it was just so well crafted and so moving and so well done and so well. Like I appreciated it from a craft point of view, just the craft of filmmaking, the heart, right? Which is what's so great. Like he has the craft and then he brings the heart. It's so rare that people have both the technical aptitude and then the ability to bring the emotion. And I think for that reason, that'd probably be if I had to just call out one. And then TV, I'm just going to say because one, it's it was my break. It's the first paid gig I had so for writing. So I'm going to say Home Improvement just because it was such an amazing experience that I think I appreciated at the time. I knew it was, but it was just grueling. But now, 30 years out and having worked with a lot of different personalities in the industry and had a lot of different experiences, the group of people that were at the top levels of that show, that created the show, that ran the show, for producers, like everywhere down. And I think that was intentional. They were just good people, and it's very rare. I've come to find out in this business. So for that reason, and it was a funny show. I thought
It was.
It was.
fun
I
show.
loved it as well. It's a hard choice for me because I
Yeah,
definitely
but
watched
yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, I would say that. Now, if I were looking at it more from, I think, and I didn't like it at the time, but I've rewatched it later and appreciate it now, maybe because I'm older, which is Frasier. I think it's very funny.
Frasier.
Wow, Frasier's great. Yeah, I did. I did really like Frasier too. That was another great one. So great.
Yep.
Very good.
Awesome. Well,
Cool.
before we go though, I do want to ask, you're one of the episodes that you were credited as the actual writer for Home Improvement is a very high rated episode, wasn't it?
Oh,
Right?
the Mother's Day episode.
Yeah. It was one of the higher rated episodes, right? Like you
It-
hold
it
that
was like-
distinction.
It came in number one. I mean, the show had been at number one before, but it was, yeah, and that was the day where obviously you're talking 1993, I believe, or 92, 93. You had CBS, NBC, ABC, I think maybe UPN at that point, Fox, but that was it. I
Mhm.
mean, you had cable, but so the amount of viewership, so the ratings look so different then. So you're talking anywhere from 23 million to 28 million viewers a week on your episode,
Mhm.
which is hard to kind of wrap your mind around. But yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, it was, and I was 23.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
I mean, I was
Very
doing some
cool.
amazing accounting at 23, but I don't know if I can compare to that. But
I was
Yeah, I was. It was a bit. Yeah, what were you doing, Mike?
I was teaching Lancaster Catholic. Those crazy,
But again,
crazy kids.
I mean, as we talk about,
how many
it-
episodes did you actually get credited
I
as?
only wrote one because
that
I
it?
wrote one in the second season. I was a writer's assistant in the second season. No, I was a writer's assistant in the first season. I wrote on spec 3 or 4 that I gave to Matt Williams, the show creator. And then at the end of the first season, he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you a script." God, is that right? Or was it first season? Oh boy, time. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. Maybe I was only on it. Anyways, one way or the other, because soon after I went on to do the new show that Matt created with David and Carmen, which was Thunder Alley, and so yeah, I only was credited for writing the one episode.
It just happened to be a very well rated, very good
Yeah,
episode.
and I think because it's a Mother's Day episode, it was a special, fun episode. So
Great. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to our remote episode here today. Just as when we're in the studio, I want everybody to like and subscribe, check out the podcast, watch it while you crochet, watch it while you drive, or no, don't watch it while you drive.
Listen
while you drive.
yes, listen, while you
watch
drive.
it while you do other things on
Yes.
YouTube. Check
Comment.
it out.
Comment. Tell us what you want us to talk about. That would be good, right? Let's solicit.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah.
solicit
Or if
ideas.
you
Happy
just
to-
want us to shut up, one or the other.
Yeah, tell
Yeah.
us. Give
One
us
thing
a
or the
thumbs
other.
down. There's none of those people.
Boo.
Yeah. Oh, they don't give you the count though anymore, right? On
For
YouTube
thumbs
for
down?
the
Oh,
thumbs
the
down.
thumbs down count. No, they took that out.
They took the
Oh.
count out so as to not to depress people.
Oh.
You can still give it. There's just no count.
You-
There's no count.
Yeah, what's the satisfaction in that?
Yeah. Lame.
Everything's so soft nowadays. Anyway,
It
thanks.
is exactly, including
Sure.
a number of episodes.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode. And like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Just as always, I'm sure Mike's out of his drink already.
Of
but-
course. Yep.
Oh yeah, I have a little bit left.
little bit now.
Yes, you got to learn
Yeah.
to
You
save
gotta
a sip. But
There
anyway,
you go.
so everybody,
Tiny.
thanks
Next
for tuning
time.
in. You guys
Cheers.
Can we be frank? Can we be